I know it's near. You alone are my heart's desire.
Alright bro, we're here, man. The second to last video within the Behind the Song series, talking about the last track of the project, You Alone. Like I said, and the reason why it's second to last is because we're going in chronological order. The last song that I worked on in this project was Genesis, the title track, which is the first on the project, but it was the last one that I worked on in terms of the order. So yeah, man, we're on You Alone, one of my favorite songs. I love this song with my heart, man. It's something special, and I have a lot to say about it in terms of like the production and creation of it. So yeah, let's get into it. So I'll kind of have to reference for context once again, because I started the beat for You Alone back when I was working on the beat for Again. It was like the beginning of 2015. I started the beat for Again, like I said then in the other video, at the end of 2014. So shortly after that date, I started working on another beat in FL Studio. And it was this really like beach vibe type of song that was pretty chill. Like the tempo wasn't that fast, but it was this really kind of cool, mellow beach type of song. And for the longest time I was like, well, even when I started it, I was like, man, this is gonna be a trashy like throwaway beat. I don't even know why I'm trying to spend my time on it. But I was like, you know what, let's give it a chance, let's see what happens. Maybe something will come through and I'll actually feel led to write about it and write for it. And so I left it on the side for a while and just kind of like, you know, like I said, I just kind of was like, man, I'll just do something else that I feel a little bit more passionately about. And we'll just see if this thing ever, you know, turns into something. And so the beat was called Expanse. And I left it, you know, like I said, FL Studio beat, just kind of left it on the side for a while. And sometime during like the summer of 2015, I felt really led to kind of bring this beat back. And I'll tell you what was the catalyst. I was going through old worship songs that I liked a lot around the time that I was working on Hills and Valleys. And one of the songs that I heard that I really liked was As the Deer. And I can't remember who wrote it, but I just had that whole You alone are my heart's desire and I long to worship thee. It just kept hitting me in my head, and I was like, man, I need to figure out where that's from. So I found the song, I found the name of the guy who wrote it, I found the original version of it, I found the key, like the key that it was written in, and it was the key of D major. And I was like, hold up, dude. So I went back into the old beat, Expanse on FL Studio, pulled it up, looked at it, heard it, and I was like, yo, I made this joint in D major as well. Let's sample this song, bring it into this track right here, and see what happens. And so I found a version of As the Deer that was like, that had a good loop on it. I found a way to kind of bring like the last part of the song into the beginning. Basically, like when the crescendo happened, it was on the portion that I wanted it to be on in the song, because like certain ways that the song was structured didn't really work too well with my beat. So I found a way to kind of sample it and rearrange it properly. So I brought it in, I basically kind of built the beat around that song and finished it out and exported it, and once again left it on the side. And I was like, okay, at least I know that there's potential there now, because like it's better than it was. It has something there that's special, something that means something to me, so I'll definitely revisit it. And so I let that joint sit for a while, and where is it? Yeah, it's right here. So I came back to it, man, and I just wrote. And man, the writing process on this joint was so crazy because it all happened so like rapid fire. It was crazy, man. Actually, it wasn't. Well, here's what happened. I wrote the first verse and I wrote the second verse at the same day, same time, like right after one another. And I tried to write the third verse and I was just stuck. And I was like, oh man, I hate when this happens, because when you write the first two verses, you just want to keep with that same momentum and that same adrenaline and let that carry into the third, and I just couldn't do it that time. And so I was like, man, I'm just gonna have to wait until the third verse gets figured out. And so, yeah, so I don't remember when the third verse hit me, but later on in the process, I came to the third verse and wrote something that was like super cool. Yeah, like I said, I recorded the whole track. I mean, I wrote the whole track out pretty, like after the third verse was done, I was like, yes, let's do this. And so I recorded it. It was like right around the time, like I think it was early 2016, like January 2016 when I recorded it. I had just gotten off of a cold, And I was like, all right, I'm not fully 100%, but I got to get this project done. Let's get it done. Let's do this. And so I recorded it. It was a cool process. I actually have video of that process too. I'm gonna have to upload that as well. No way. No way, so that's too high.
So long I've wondered and wondered if you could hear my cries. So long I've worn this mask, but you saw through my disguise. You alone are my heart's desire, and I long to worship thee.
What's up?
Pussy. I said, what is this dude doing? My heart with me. He trying to record himself singing.
But recorded it. There were some goofy moments there. And like, again, dude, I didn't really promote it or put it out on YouTube with like a lyric video or a music video. And so a lot of people, once again, didn't really hear it as much. And so that was kind of a bummer. But it was also kind of ammunition to keep me like really desiring and wanting people to eventually hear it really good. And so I just kind of said, you know what? I wish I would have put more out for this song, but we'll figure it out later. So I mentioned Tanner in the last video for Again, and once again I have to mention him as well because during that same day that we talked and I showed him some of my songs, he talked about Again, and he was like, man, you should probably revisit this joint and try to like rearrange some things. That same day we worked on another song. I think it was that same day. I think it was a separate occasion. We came together later on, a couple months later, and I was in his dad's studio again, and I brought him a beat that I've been working on called Bliss. And it was just like, you know, it had this real loud synthy, in your face, a lot of just like really loud percussion, loud synth leads and all that. Like real fast tempo and all that, and so I showed it to him and I was like, yeah man, this is kind of what I'm looking at. I want to do some things differently with it though. I want to tone it down. I want to kind of bring it into a different type of vibe. And he was like, cool, let's do it. So I laid down, you know, the main motif, which is like the whole da na 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 da da na na na, and he was like, okay. We laid it down, and he was working in Cubase. We laid it down in Cubase, and then I basically laid down the main foundation for the beat. So I laid down that part, the synth pattern. I laid down the drum pattern, and he did some really cool stuff. He brought out his bass guitar and laid down some really cool bass things, like a little bass climb, and like just these things I hadn't even thought about including. And then for like this, there was this bridge section we had that I had to take out, but there was a bridge section he made with a keyboard that was really, really nice and cool, and it just brought it into this completely different tone. And it was awesome, man. And so we exported that sample beat down to a MP3, and he sent it to me. And I just kind of let it sit for a while. And I knew I wanted to kind of do my own thing with it because I don't have Cubase. I couldn't really mix the actual or like mess with the actual original file that we made in that studio. And so I was like, man, let me try to recreate these elements within Logic, and we'll go from there. And so I did. I made a Bliss, and it was like an apostrophe. It was Bliss and in parentheses 2. So like a second version of the song. I took what we did in Tanner's studio, and I just kind of made my own thing and chose my own synth vibes and like some synth strings. I basically emulated his same bass line, but I took out the bridge. I did some different things with the chorus. And on the chorus, like I said, the original chorus for You Alone was, you know, the whole As the Deer chorus. Initially, actually, I'll say this. Initially, I tried to actually get clearance for the sample. I was like, man, let me call up this dude, and I'm not gonna fight for the sample of the audio recording. I'm just gonna get the sample of, the clearance for the composition. I know people are usually a little bit more open to letting people use their compositions as opposed to like an actual recording, because that kind of takes two different things. But yeah, so I was like, let me just try to get clearance for the composition, and then we'll go from there. I'll get some background vocalists, and we'll basically recreate this recording. And so I sent an email to the label that had the publishing rights for the song, and they never got back to me. And so I was like, dang, all right, well, I guess I'll just have to recreate my own chorus for this song instead. And it was something I didn't want to have to do, but I was like, man, let's just try and see what happens. If I can't create something that's as good or better than the As the Deer chorus, I'll just have to figure something else out. And so I spent a couple of months after that trying to figure out what I was going to do for the song, and like maybe 5 months later, I finally settled on a chorus, man. I was sitting upstairs in my studio where I'm at usually. I have this on video. There's that passage in 2 Corinthians 4 that I've been really moved by. It reads that, we do not lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away. Inwardly we are being renewed day by day. That whole, I love that passage so much. And so I was like, man, let me try to find a way to incorporate that scripture into my chorus.
And I can learn to endure the trials and persevere, passionately pressing towards the hope I know is near.
Wasting away, you're holding me together. Wasting away, you alone I place my faith in. Though I'm wasting away, you hold me together.
And I was like, man, this is beautiful. And like when I wrote it and was just going through it, singing it out, man, I got in tears, dude. It was that much. It was that emotionally involved and that moving. And so, yeah, man, I took it all. I took that chorus. I changed out the progressions in the chorus section. I took out the whole As the Deer portion and just like went with this whole new vibe and used the other beat that I made with Tanner that I kind of redone. And that was how I did You Alone, dude. And it felt so good to have my own chorus, man, to have my, like, all of the song was mine, to be able to claim ownership of the entire track. That just felt so good. More than just simply having the ownership, it was also the idea that, like, when I wrote that song, man, it felt like the first song that I really, like, I took myself out of the equation. And I was like, the last portion of the song is just like, I want to worship Jesus, because only your name could conquer the grave. It's only Jesus. Humbly will praise and honor your name, only your name. And it's like, man, it felt like the first song that I really just turned the attention fully to the cross, fully to the Lord, and just kind of made space for Him and took the focus off of myself, my problems, my things, my thoughts, and said, man, let me just turn my focus to Jesus and let Him be the one that leads this song out. And so You Alone felt like a really strong shift in that direction of just keeping it real, bringing it back to just a place of worship, man. Worship doesn't just belong in the church, man. Worship belongs in hip-hop. Worship belongs in R&B. It can fit anywhere. And so You Alone felt very special for that reason, man. That's one of my favorite songs ever. So, yeah, man. That is You Alone. We hit it, bro. We're done. There will be one more video within the Behind the Song series, and that will be Genesis, the title track, and I look forward to talking about that one because I'm still working on it as we speak. So we will get there and we will talk about it, and it's going to be really fun. But thank you guys for watching, man. I look forward to catching up with you guys and putting out this project. So, peace.
And sing these words as I anticipate being with you.
And you alone.